You're listening to the Second Level Millennials. Now here's your hosts, Tim Kelly and Jack Fritz.
I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
Biggie.
Show, we're going to either have a monologue kind of discussing an issue, almost like if you think of what Dave Chappelle did on SNL the other week, that type of thing. If there's an important sports issue, this week it's a little bit more laid back. I mean, we're not going to force something like that every week. We're just discussing who is the NFL MVP. We're going to have, obviously, the show's going to be littered with lighthearted segments, but this is Week 16, and I think Week 16 is in the books now, so I think it's a good time to discuss this. And this will be a perfect time to show that our Philadelphia bias is not in play. However, I should mention right away, to me, Dak Prescott is not one of the MVP candidates. I think Dak Prescott has had an incredible rookie season. I think he's also been surrounded with the best offensive line in the NFL, above average receiving talent, and possibly the best running back in the NFL, which we'll get to in a minute. So to me, Dak Prescott's going to be a very nice player. The Cowboys made the right decision in sticking with him, and I'm pro Tony Romo too. I just think he is their quarterback of the future, and good for them for finding him, but I don't think he's an MVP candidate. I think he's a very good player playing on a team that this season has been great. My candidates, and it's a fairly long list, Jack, are Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Ezekiel Elliott, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, and I have to throw David Johnson in there, even though the Cardinals have had one of the most disappointing seasons in the entire NFL. David Johnson has balled out this year.
No, I completely agree. When he was, we're talking fantasy here for a second, and I mean when he was coming out, he was like projected a top 12 pick maybe in fantasy this year. He wasn't really considered in that 1 through 4 range, which now obviously looks pretty dumb because he's now surefire a top 4 pick next year, you would think. But David Johnson, I mean, a guy who is going to put up over 2,000 yards from scrimmage and 20 touchdowns for the first time since 2006 when LT did it. I mean, he's been incredible. And if this award was most outstanding player, he'd be right up there with them. But since his team's so bad and cost me some money in my Cardinals to win the NFC West bet, he's just not going to be in the running for MVP, and it's kind of unfortunate.
I think you can also look at the fact that he's on a bad team and think it may have boosted his stats. Even still, 1,233 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, and what really gets you is 77 catches for 841 yards. That's like, running backs don't run for 12 or 1,300 yards and push 1,000 receiving yards. So it's been an incredible season. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if David Johnson eventually is an MVP. To me, he's not my MVP. I kind of look at Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford and say, very nice seasons. They were elite quarterbacks this season, which that's a huge compliment to these two because I don't think anybody expected that prior to the season. But I don't look at them as MVPs. Now, it comes down to 3 guys for me. Aaron Rodgers has 36 touchdowns, 7 picks, over 4,000 yards. To me, Aaron Rodgers is the most talented player, and I've said this a million times. He won't have the legacy of Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, but I think Aaron Rodgers at his peak is that good. But the Packers were really lackluster first 9 or 10 games, so it comes out more to Tom Brady or Ezekiel Elliott for me. Brady has 3,270 yards, 25 touchdowns, 2 picks, a 110.7 QBR. Ezekiel Elliott, though, from a team that won 4 games last year with a rookie quarterback, I know he has a great line, but he has changed that offense. 1,631 yards, averaging 5.1 yards per carry, 15 touchdowns, 32 catches for 363 yards. I know DeMarco Murray individually ran for 1,800 yards just a few years ago behind this line, but he did it with an all-pro quarterback. I mean, Ezekiel has done in his rookie year, but he's done it with a rookie quarterback around him, and I think for a majority of this year, Ezekiel Elliott was the best player in the NFL. So I don't have an MVP vote, so I don't have to give Jack a definitive answer, but I think I'd probably lean towards Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, it's really hard to disagree. my one thing is the reason why he might not win is because I think Dak's going to take away some of his votes. And I could see Dak taking away some of his votes. I could see people factoring in the offensive line and how great that is, and also having Des Bryant, Cole Beasley, Jason Witten. I mean, it's just an insane offense for two rookies to come into, and really, I mean, you couldn't really think of a more perfect situation than what they walked into. So I can see the voters looking at situational bias and maybe a rookie bias, because I feel like some people are afraid to go all in on Zeke MVP because they can't imagine a rookie winning an MVP.
That's so dumb to me, honestly. It's like the year Justin Verlander won 25 games, and people are like, oh, I don't, and I'm not that wins are the most important stat. That was just a stat of how dominant he was this year. And people are like, I don't know if I can vote for a pitcher to be MVP. Like, there are years where going out of the norm is a little more important, and to me, I think that this would be one of those years. I think voting for Dak Prescott would be saying, we're going to give the award to the quarterback of the team who had the best record, and that I just don't agree with that. I think Tom Brady, on the same token, Jack, will have people say, well, they went 3-1 without him, which is stupid. I mean, they obviously weren't going to have this record or continue that pace throughout the year, but Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo did hold it down a little bit in his absence, and statistically, Aaron Rodgers, if you're going with the quarterback, has been probably the best statistical quarterback this season in many regards in terms of accumulating those stats, which obviously had a 4-game head start on Tom Brady. So, I don't know. I think it would be fun for Tom Brady to win both the MVP and the Super Bowl this year, and the year that Roger Goodell finally got his chance to suspend him. It would be a fun storyline for sure.
Do the Pats win the division without Brady?
I think the Dolphins might win that division, so I think that's a fair discussion to have, especially when you consider, this is kind of always the thing I've said the last few years, is I think Tom Brady has been the number 2 quarterback to Aaron Rodgers in the NFL over the past 3 or 4 seasons. But I think the best player on the Patriots offense, and this is not a Tom Brady diss, but the best player on the players' offense has been Rob Gronkowski, who's been a Hall of Fame caliber player when he's in there at his peak. They've done it without Gronk in the second half of the year, so certainly that has to be factored into it. They didn't have Deion Lewis for a good portion of the year, but they found a way to make LeGarrette Blount extremely effective. I think he has over 16 touchdowns this season.
Yeah, I think he's got 17.
Yeah, 17 touchdowns this season. So, I mean, it certainly is not just Tom Brady. It's the Patriots, but I in most cases am more inclined to vote for whoever I think is the best player, so I don't factor the literal term of valuable in there quite as much, but yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with Ezekiel Elliott or Tom Brady, and frankly, when you compare Tom Brady to Peyton Manning, he is a little short on the regular season MVP awards, so this would certainly add to his legacy if he's able to add another one of those in there.
Yeah, if you're looking at the term most valuable player, I mean, it would probably be Aaron Rodgers, because if you take him off that team, they're down there with the Bears most likely. I mean, sure they have fine players like Jordy Nelson, whatever, but I also think that that Aaron Rodgers makes them way better players than they already are. And to his credit, so does Tom Brady. And for me, I didn't get a really chance to say who my MVP is, but it's going to be Tom Brady. I mean, the guy, sure, they started 3-1, but, they started 3-1, but they weren't really a Super Bowl caliber team at 3-1. I mean, sure, they were fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
Probably could have done some things. And so I sort of throw the 3-1 out, but he's lost one game. He's the most accurate he's ever been in his career. Somehow he's gotten better. Like, he's 39 and he's playing probably the best football of his life. He's 25-2 right now, touchdown to interceptions. And he's taking like guys like Chris Hogan, who was cast away by the 49ers, I think last year or 2 years ago. Pretty much, I think he played lacrosse at Penn State, whatever. And now he's probably going to win a Pro Bowl next year.
I'm interested to see like how long Tom Brady's able to keep this up, because there were those. I think it was a leaked email, and I don't know why you'd put anything relevant in email anymore, given how many hacked emails we've seen. But Tom Brady was talking about he thinks he can play till he's 45 years old, and he was kind of poo-pooing the idea of Peyton Manning, saying he's at the end, and he was at the end. The thing is, when Peyton Manning was 39, we were thinking, I mean, he looks like he can play till he's 45 years old, and then quickly fell off a cliff the last 2 seasons injury-wise. Tom Brady's been much more healthy throughout the course of his career, so really to wrap that part up, I'm interested to see how many more years Tom Brady can play at this level. I think Jimmy Garoppolo has 1 more season left on his rookie deal after this, so it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward in New England, and how long they continue to go with Tom Brady. But right now, it doesn't seem like there's any reason to switch in a different direction.
Yeah, they might trade Garoppolo if it all comes down to it. Maybe next year. Are we sure that Tom Brady hasn't murdered Father Time?
Not sure, but if anybody's done it, it's probably Tom Brady. But Roger Goodell will find a way to dig deeper into that. So we'll see what happens.
I got you. All right.